I don't usually talk about this night, not because I forgot it, but because every time I think about it, I can still feel the way the air turned heavy in my chest. It happened in late September, about 3 years ago. I was driving back from a job site outside the city. A long day of survey work for a small engineering firm I just started with. We'd wrapped late, and by the time I got on the road, it was already after 10:30 p.m. I remember checking my watch before I started the car. 10:47. I thought about grabbing food, but the town was dead by then, and the drive home was just under an hour. I figured I'd eat once I got back. The road I took was one I knew well, a 2-lane state highway that cut through farmland and a stretch of forest before reconnecting with the interstate. It wasn't busy even during the day. At night, it felt abandoned. The first 30 minutes were uneventful. Just the sound of tires on pavement, the occasional hum when I crossed over those faded white strips. The headlights carved out maybe 50 feet of road ahead, and everything else was just black. But then, around the 40-minute mark, I noticed something. A figure on the shoulder. At first, it didn't register. I thought it was a mailbox, or maybe one of those reflective markers that sometimes lean at odd angles. But as I got closer, I saw it was a man. He was just standing there on the right side of the road facing traffic. No car nearby, no bike, nothing, just him. I remember my grip tightening on the steering wheel. I slowed down a little, partly because it felt wrong to speed past a guy standing in the middle of nowhere, and partly because my brain was scrambling to make sense of it. He looked average, jeans, a dark jacket, hands at his sides. But the strange part was his face. Not that I could make out details. The light only hit him for a second. But in that second, I swear he was staring straight into my car, directly at me. Not the road, not the headlights, me. And then he was gone, swallowed up in the rearview mirror. I drove another mile, telling myself all the logical things. Maybe his car broke down. Maybe he lived nearby and was just walking home. Maybe he was waiting for someone. But the thing is, I'd been down that stretch countless times. There are no houses there, no side roads, just trees pressing against both shoulders for nearly 10 miles. I turned the music back on, trying to shake it off. The clock on the dash read 11:32. Almost home. That's when I saw him again, standing on the shoulder, same side of the road, same stance, same direct stare as I passed. My stomach dropped so fast I almost swerved. It wasn't possible. I'd been driving in a straight line, 60 miles an hour. There was no way he could have gotten ahead of me. But there he was. This time I didn't slow down. I pressed harder on the gas, eyes locked on the road, refusing to check the mirror. My chest was tight, and I could feel my pulse hammering in my throat. I told myself I was just tired. I'd worked a long day, skipped dinner, maybe I was seeing things. But no, I wasn't imagining it. The detail was too sharp. His clothes, the way his arms hung loose at his sides, the pale reflection off his face as the beams caught him. I kept driving, a few more miles. Every shadow on the shoulder made me flinch. Then I saw him again. This time, he wasn't on the shoulder. He was standing right at the edge of the pavement. Closer, I jerked the wheel just slightly to avoid clipping him, my heart slamming against my ribs. For half a second, I thought about stopping, confronting him, demanding to know what the hell was going on. But the thought of pulling over, of rolling down my window with him that close, no, I couldn't. By now, my hands were sweating against the wheel. I remember shaking them out at a stop sign just to get a grip again. There were no other cars, not one, just me, that empty stretch of highway, and this man who kept appearing where he shouldn't. The next few minutes crawled. Every curve, every dip in the road, I half expected to see him again. And sure enough, I did. But this time, he wasn't standing. He was crouched, low, like an animal ready to spring, head tilted up toward my windshield as I passed, his eyes catching the light for the briefest second. I can't describe that look. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sadness. It was intent. Like he knew me. Like he was waiting for me specifically. I drove the last stretch in a blur. I don't even remember making the turn onto the interstate. By the time I pulled into my apartment's lot, My whole body was trembling. I sat there for a long time, engine running, staring at the dark trees that lined the edge of the property, half expecting him to step out of them. He didn't. Eventually, I forced myself upstairs, locked the door, double-checked the windows. For hours, I just lay there in the dark, listening for footsteps in the hallway. Nothing came. I never told anyone at the time. Not my co-workers, not my friends. Because what could I even say? That some man had somehow been waiting for me on a desolate road, over and over again? It's been years now, but I still think about that night. And sometimes, late when I'm driving, I catch myself scanning the shoulders of the road, bracing for him. Because I know what I saw, and I know that he was real. And the part that unsettles me most, the thought that keeps me awake, is wondering whether he was just some stranger, or if he was waiting specifically for me. I used to live in a small apartment complex on the east side of town. It wasn't anything special. A 3-story brick building with thin walls, buzzing hallway lights, and a constant smell of someone cooking onions. But it was cheap, and it was close to work. This story takes place during the winter I lived there, about 5 years ago. I was working long shifts then, sometimes not getting home until after midnight. Most nights I just unlock my door, kick off my boots, and collapse into bed without even turning on the TV. The layout of the building was simple. 2 long hallways with doors facing each other, a stairwell at each end. My apartment was on the 2nd floor. Right across from me, directly opposite my door, was apartment 2B. I never met the tenant, not once. That was strange because the building wasn't big. I knew the guy upstairs who blasted music. I knew the couple downstairs who fought a lot. But 2B? Never saw anyone come in or out. At first I thought it was vacant, but sometimes, late at night, I'd hear faint sounds through the thin walls. Not music, not talking, just movement, like someone pacing. It started subtly, a shuffle, a soft step, then silence, always between 1 and 3 a.m. One night I came home from a shift at the shop. Snow had piled against the curbs, and my boots left a trail up the stairwell. As I reached my door, I noticed something odd. The door to 2B was cracked open, just an inch, but enough to see the darkness inside. That door was always closed, always locked. I slowed down, staring at it, waiting to hear a voice or see someone step out, but nothing happened. I unlocked my door quickly, slipped inside, and locked it behind me. I remember pressing my ear against the wall that night, straining to hear anything. All I caught was a faint dragging sound, like furniture being shifted slowly across the floor. The next morning, the door was shut again. Weeks went by like that, sometimes noises, sometimes the faintest sliver of light glowing under their door at odd hours. But never a face. Then one night, something changed. I got home earlier than usual, around 10:15 p.m. I was fumbling for my keys when I heard it, a whisper, coming from 2B. Not words I could make out, just a low, hushed murmur, like someone speaking through fabric. I froze in the hallway, key halfway into the lock, my breath caught in my throat. The whisper stopped. The hallway went dead silent. Then very slowly, the doorknob of 2B turned. I don't know why, but I panicked. I shoved my key in, yanked my door open, and slammed it shut behind me. I didn't even take off my coat. I just stood there listening. For a long time, nothing. Then 3 deliberate knocks, not on my door, on the wall we shared. I backed into my bedroom, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed until my legs cramped. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I checked the hallway. Nothing out of place. 2B's door was closed, same as always. I told myself I'd imagined it. Stress, exhaustion. Maybe I'd misheard a TV. But the knocks came again. Not every night. Just enough to wear me down. Always after midnight. Always 3 in a row. One night, around 2:40 a.m., I finally snapped. I pounded back on the wall, hard enough to rattle the picture frame above my couch. Silence. Then slowly, a knock back. But not 3 this time. 4. That chilled me worse than anything, because it felt deliberate. Like whoever was in there knew I was responding. Like they wanted me to know they'd heard me. After that, I avoided being home at night. I'd stay late at the shop, grab coffee, kill time anywhere else. But eventually, you can't avoid your own apartment. One night I came home around midnight, exhausted, and found something waiting. A note, slipped under my door, no envelope, no handwriting, just block letters cut from a magazine and glued to paper. It said, "Stop knocking." I didn't sleep at all that night. Every creak of the building made me jump. I kept staring at that note on my counter, wondering if I should call the landlord or the police. But what would I even say? Someone in the apartment I've never seen is leaving me notes and knocking on walls. They'd laugh, or worse, they'd think I was unstable. So I stayed quiet. A week later, everything escalated. It was snowing heavy that night. I trudged up the stairs, shaking ice from my coat. The hallway was dim, one of the bulbs flickering overhead. As I reached my door, I saw 2Bs was open again. Wider this time, maybe 6 inches. The darkness inside looked wrong, like the kind of black where you expect something to move if you stare too long. And then I noticed it. On the floor, just inside the doorway, was a single boot. Old, scuffed, laces frayed, pointing outward, toward me. I fumbled with my keys so badly I dropped them. They clattered against the tile, the sound way too loud in that still hallway. My hands shook as I scooped them up. I didn't look back. I didn't check the doorway again. I just got inside my apartment and locked everything twice. That night, the knocking didn't come. Instead, I woke to a new sound, my doorknob turning, slowly, quietly, like someone testing it. I sat up in bed, every nerve in my body screaming. I held my breath, listening. The knob rattled once, then stopped. I didn't sleep again until the sun came up. The next day, I went straight to the landlord's office. I asked about 2B who lived there, if they'd had complaints. He gave me a strange look. Said as far as he knew, 2B was empty. Had been for months. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just nodded, thanked him, and went back upstairs. But that night when I got home, the boot was gone. And there was a new note under my door. This one said only one thing. "We heard you." I moved out 2 weeks later. I broke my lease, packed everything into my car, and never looked back. But even now, years later, I still wake sometimes in the middle of the night, convinced I'll hear 3 knocks, or maybe 4. I was driving home from a weekend trip last summer when it happened. It was late, later than I'd planned. I'd stayed at my buddy's house longer than I should have, drinking a couple of beers, waiting out the rain. By the time I finally hit the highway, it was close to 11:20 p.m. The route back to my place was 3 hours. Most of it was interstate, long straight stretches where you could set the cruise control and zone out. But about halfway, there was this old rest stop. I'd seen it plenty of times in the daytime. Just a small pull-off with a vending machine, a handful of cracked parking spaces, and 2 brick bathrooms. Nothing fancy. Honestly, I never thought much about it. That night, though, I noticed the gas gauge dropping lower than I expected. I'd miscalculated, and with another hour and a half ahead, I figured I'd stop at the rest area, stretch, maybe check my phone for the nearest station. The exit ramp was darker than I remembered. No streetlights, just my beams cutting through drizzle. The lot was mostly empty except for one beat-up sedan parked crooked near the bathrooms. Its headlights were off. No one inside that I could see. I pulled in a few spaces away, left the engine running, and sat for a minute. The rain tapped lightly against the windshield. That's when I noticed something. The vending machine's light was flickering, not just dim, flickering in a pattern like it was struggling to stay on. And in the glow, I could see movement. A man. He was standing perfectly still beside the machine, not buying anything, not even facing it, just standing there, body turned slightly toward the parking lot. I thought maybe he was waiting for someone in the sedan, or maybe he was just loitering. Still, something about the way he stood, stiff, hands at his sides, made my skin crawl. I told myself not to overthink it. I'd just check directions on my phone and leave. But when I glanced back up, he was closer. Still in the vending machine's glow, but definitely closer to my car than before. I hadn't seen him move. One second he was 10 feet back, the next he was nearly at the curb. I locked my doors without thinking. The click sounded way too loud in the cabin. The man didn't react. He just kept standing there, head tilted slightly like he was listening. I tried to focus on my phone, but my hands were trembling too much. The signal was weak, pages loading slow. My eyes kept flicking back to him, and that's when I saw the sedan's driver's door was open. It hadn't been when I pulled in. I was sure of it. I leaned forward, trying to see if someone was inside, but the shadows swallowed everything past the open door. I couldn't make out a thing. Then faintly I heard it, a wet sound, like someone dragging something heavy across damp pavement. My chest tightened. My first thought was, leave. But some part of me froze, waiting for more proof, like I needed to be absolutely sure before peeling out of there. The man near the vending machine finally moved, one slow step, then another. Not toward my car, toward the open sedan door. He reached it, bent slightly, and for a second his body blocked my view. When he stood upright again, he wasn't empty-handed anymore. He was holding something. I couldn't tell what. A bundle of dark fabric? A bag? My headlights didn't catch it right, but the way his arms strained, whatever it was heavy. He turned, carrying it into the bathroom. I don't know why, but that jolted me out of my freeze. I threw the car into reverse, backed out so fast my tires screeched, then floored it back toward the ramp. As I glanced in the mirror, I saw the bathroom door swing open again. The man stepped back out. And this time, he wasn't carrying anything. He just stood there in the rain, head turned toward my car as I sped up the ramp. I didn't stop until I hit the next gas station 20 miles down. I sat in the lit-up lot, engine still running, hands gripping the wheel like they were welded there. I thought about calling the police, but what would I even say? That I saw a man carry something heavy into a rest stop bathroom? That I couldn't describe his face, or even what he was carrying? They'd dismiss it, so I stayed silent. I drove the rest of the way home with every mirror adjusted, half expecting headlights to appear behind me. They never did, but I can't get that image out of my head. The way the man stood perfectly still by the vending machine, the open sedan door, and the fact that whatever he carried into that bathroom, he didn't carry it back out.